Tomorrow marks a year since the world's eyes were first focused on Watertown, Massachusetts. One of the largest manhunts in American history was underway. Now we're learning more about the final moments that brought a reign of terror to an abrupt end. Jim Axelrod sat down with someone who was there and changed how we look at the story. It's an interview you'll see only on CBS This Morning. Jim, good morning.
Well, good morning, Sharon. It'll be exactly 1 year ago tomorrow that Jahar Tsarnaev was pulled from a small motorboat in a backyard in a quiet neighborhood. The whole operation was documented by a Massachusetts state trooper. That trooper is among the many people whose lives were forever changed by the bombing and its aftermath. But unlike so many of them, the changes he's seen were all consequences of his own decisions.
No one had a better view of what went down in the backyard of this house on Franklin Street in Watertown than Sean Murphy.
This was all going on right over here where we're looking?
That's it, right there, right where you're looking.
A year ago, he was Sergeant Sean Murphy of the Massachusetts State Police, among the hundreds of local, state, and federal law enforcement officers swarming to the area where Tsarnaev had been spotted after a 3-day manhunt, his brother dead, a police officer murdered.
I was in this building adjacent from the boat, in the rear of this building, in a window that was looking directly at the boat.
Taking all kinds of pictures.
Yeah.
Murphy was a tactical photographer with the state police. His job was to chronicle operations as they unfolded.
When he arose from the boat, my first thought was, we've got him. He's not going anywhere else.
For months, the pictures Murphy took of Tsarnaev's capture were kept out of the public light, the property of the state police. Then last July, Murphy saw this cover of Rolling Stone magazine, which he, like so many in Boston, thought depicted a terrorist as a rock star. He was astonished.
Oh, it was totally offensive. I think it was anyone who saw that cover knew it was offensive and knew it was wrong.
Were you angry?
I was upset that they did that. I knew it hurt a lot of people.
Murphy decided to release the photos of Tsarnaev. He did not have the authority, but he did have the pictures. They depicted a bloody Tsarnaev, his arms up and forehead colored red from the laser beams of sniper rifles.
And knowing that I had the images that really showed that guy, not fluffed and buffed for the cover of Rolling Stone, but as he really looked on the day he was captured, it was very simple for me. I knew that people had to see those images.
Murphy was suspended, then reassigned to a graveyard shift on the desk, and eventually worked out a deal where after 25 years, he retired from the state police with his pension.
If you knew it was going to end your career, would have you still done it?
Absolutely. It was never about me. It was never about the state police. It was if people were in my shoes, I would think that they would have done the same thing I did.
Edward Deveau is Watertown's police chief. Last week in Washington, he testified in front of a House committee about Tsarnaev's capture. He is concerned the release of those pictures could force a change in location for the trial.
We get frustrated sometimes, how things go, but, we all want to make sure we get that conviction at the end of the day. I know he was frustrated and, probably shouldn't have done it, but I understand.
But here in South Boston, support for Murphy remains strong, especially among law enforcement officers.
I have never spoken to anyone face-to-face who has been critical of what I did. Not one.
So who's raising the criticism?
You tell me. I'm not hearing it.
God bless America.
This year, instead of working the marathon, he'll be running it. In honor of 8-year-old Martin Richard, the youngest victim killed a year ago. Murphy spends much of his time working for a foundation set up in Richard's name and not giving very much thought at all to his decision to make these pictures public.
Sometimes doing what's not right is the right thing to do.
On Monday, Murphy will be running the marathon for Team MR8, which stands for Martin Richard and his favorite number. So far, he's raised more than $11,000 for the Martin Richard Foundation, which invests in education, athletics, and community.
Yeah, many people will be cheering him on. I remember at the time, a lot of people said those pictures really put it in perspective.
The question is, obviously, why couldn't they have done something to make their point without having it come to this conclusion?
Well, that's what he feels. I'll tell you, the one thing he's focused on, though, is this little Martin Richard. You remember that boy and the
course.
picture, no more hurting people, peace? So ironic. That's the picture he thinks carries the day.
Thank you, Jim Axelrod.